Okay. Go. Go. יא בני זונות. יו, אני בהלם. אני בהלם. יו. אני בשוק. אני פאקינג בשוק.
אתם רוצים ממ"ד? זה פה! יואו! כנסו לממ"ד!
We have some breaking news now. Donald Trump says everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. In a post on Truth Social, the US president says, Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame and a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. And the President, Donald Trump, is in Canada at the moment for the G7, and he says he does not intend to sign a joint statement calling for de-escalation between Israel and Iran. So there's some latest developments there.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And what would you say, in your opinion, what would it take for the U.S. to get involved in this conflict militarily?
I don't want to talk about it.
This is Natanz here, just to the east and south of it. This is an aerial picture, General, okay, of Natanz and what it was before. You've got buildings and structures here, buildings here, and buildings here. That's pre-war. Now you've got complete devastation in Natanz here, this building located here, as well as this one in the upper right-hand corner. Natanz is very different from what this site that you're describing. Firdow is a half-mile buried inside of a mountain. And you believe the United States has no choice but to get involved with the Iranians? Explain that, sir.
Well, it's in the United States court national interest that Iran does not have a nuclear capability and get to it. That's a fact. And this capability, if we leave it there, the Ayatollah will recover and rebuild. And that's what he's absolutely counting on. That's why he never was willing to dismantle the program himself with verification. That would end his program. Here he believes he has a chance. And that's what these guys are all about. And we've got to finish what we started here. We can't look like we haven't come to the assistance of the Israelis when they needed it the most here to finish this operation. They are our strongest ally in the region. What do you think the Arabs would think after the president's visit there, looking at this and they're saying, my, if the United States isn't going to help the Israelis at this critical time, what's the chance they're going to help us? And does this motivate Putin a little bit more to stay the course in terms of what he's doing, and President Xi, if we don't help the Israelis finish this off? It's their operation. We would lend a support to it to finish it off. And that's what I'm suggesting, and I'm certain the president is making those considerations.
این چند روز چه اتفاقی افتاده؟ تمام کشورهای عربی تماس گرفتن و گفتن ما از شما حمایت میکنیم. پاکستان گفته اگر اسرائیل بخواد بمب اتم بزنه ما به اسرائیل بمب اتم خواهیم زد. احساسات مسلمان ها تو منطقه فوق‌العاده رو به افزایش خواهد بود. هرچی ما قوی تر عمل کنیم، هرچی مردم ما همراهی بیشتری با نیروهای مسلح عمل کنن، ما از این گردن عبور کنیم، اون طرفش یک اقیانوسی از پیشرفت سیاسی، نظامی، اقتصادی انشاءالله جلوی ملت ما خواهد.
Germany, pre-World War I, believed their sufferings were from the Khazarian Jews from the land of Prussia. The Khazarians were the bankers that were controlling all of Europe after the Spanish Inquisition through usury and interest. Their name was Rothschild or Red Cross. Germany was prepping to be the economic superpower over Europe. The Khazarian central bankers of France and Britain saw this as a threat, but did not have the funds to take down Germany. They drafted up a scheme to use America to fund the World War I with the newly minted Federal Reserve. Britain and allies were borrowing money from the new Khazarian Federal Reserve, which eventually led America into war. Germany was tricked as the bankers planted a madman as a leader. Hitler was planted to scare all other nations to help the Allies and central banks. Hitler was a double agent working for the bankers and his own government. The plan was to get the entire West under debt. The bankers from Prussia were and are the real Nazi Party. Prussia was beaten by Russia in the 1700s and was forced to choose a different religion other than paganism. They chose Judaism and mixed it with Baal worship or Baal, forming Kabbalism under Zionism. Those are the Zionists. They conditioned, brainwashed, and used Hitler to bring in the brown coats, brown shirts, and laws against the Germans. The Red Cross, or Rothschild dynasty, played all sides of Britain and the surrounding countries, including Germany. The Red Cross works for the Jesuits, or the so-called Khazars, who are also the Society of Jesus and also known as the Jesuits. Some historians have connected the bloodlines even to Nero and Rome. The Society of Jesus controls the Catholic Church under the current family of Orsini. Germany had loans with the Red Cross and was tired of their control. According to Wikipedia, this is what the world wants you to know. World War I's excuse was the German government believed that the onset of war and its support of Austria-Hungary was a way to secure its place as a leading power, which was supported by public nationalism and further united it behind the monarchy. A month after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie on July 28, 1914, the Austro-Hungarian government declares war on Serbia. Immediately, and within a period of 6 days, European countries declare war upon each other. But the actual records, if you dig deeper, was that Germany wasn't going to pay back their loans to the central banks. France and London both controlled Germany, and Germany wanted to be the superpower. And according to the German leaders, the Jewish Khazarians from modern-day Ukraine, that was Prussia, were the curse upon the world. They knew they were not the real Jews of the God of Jacob and posing as God's chosen. They decided, Germany, through the Gestapo's influence, to try and wipe out the bloodlines of Mesopotamia, or the sons of Cain. The Gestapo in Germany was actually under the control from Hitler, who actually was a turncoat for his own country. So even though the leaders of Germany wanted to get rid of the Khazars, unfortunately the Khazars were one step ahead of them. 1 year before World War I, the Federal Reserve was created. The central banks of Europe didn't want to fund the wars. Once the war started, Britain borrowed from the United States. Brand new Federal Reserve since Liberty Bonds failed, which was public donations. Nobody wanted to go to war. Britain borrowed from the Bank of France and the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve borrowed from the central banks too as well. The central banks ended up taxing their own countries to pay for the war. The war was about taking control of the threat of Germany's growth and the start of a new world order. Germany knew it and knew the bankers were getting ready for it. Albert Pike, with the help of Adam Weishaupt, brought back the Knights Templars to recreate the Freemasons, whom did the dirty work behind the scenes as spies and Secret Service. They were similar to modern-day CIA we have now. The Germans knew they were cornered. Russia didn't have their back because they too lost to the bankers during the Bolshevik Revolution. Germany did what any country would do in such desperate measures, try and take out the bankers, all by themselves, who had them cornered. Germany lost. The bankers won. This was the beginning of the takeover of the world by the Khazarian Jews. Not the real Jews, the Khazarian Jews from the land of Prussia, modern-day Ukraine. One could argue they have had control ever since, as many of the top world leaders wear the Red Cross bracelet, symbolizing their loyalty to the Society of Jesus. Next on the list of the takeovers was the Middle East and Asia. The rival to the Orsinis was the Breakspear family, but they love each other, who have been silently buying up land and corporations in Asia. The next move now is to force the United States to start World War III as the new Germany 2.0, and Trump is the next patsy replacing Hitler. With the PSYOP Q promise, or white hats and promises of Nasser and Jassera dangling carrots in front of the American people, the bankers have been able to keep the gun owners at bay while their controlled Congress files down their amendments and rights. The bankers used sex, gender, race, and the left and right political paradigm theater to give the appearance that the people had a choice, yet they continued to fight against each other instead of fighting the bankers, the real true ones who started all of this. Since the United States is a corporation and not a country, the education system has still been indoctrinating the children into the belief that the Khazars don't exist and Germany was the evil Axis. Now, they are using the same playbook to usher in the last phase of a complete world takeover. Albert Pike laid the groundwork in their lodges nationwide in America to make sure the public are still dumbed down and conditioned as they prepare the world for a war against Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Israel being used for biblical significance to get the world into a holy war. They have warped Scripture and have convinced the world that Jesus and their Messiah, the Mashiach, are now coming. This is the Armageddon crap we're hearing now. This is a distraction as they push their way for depopulation. As the Jesuits believe, they can build a utopia of Khazars commanding 500 million people to work on their land to preserve it for the Breakspear family. The Breakspears controlled Jesus' spear of destiny from the year 1000 to the year 1500. The next phase is shifting the wealth from the west to the east while they continue their efforts of mind control. The Nazis that exploited Germany moved after World War II to America during Operation Paperclip. Hopefully now you're caught up and understand what's going on worldwide.
How many nuclear weapons does Iran have as of today?
Right now, I hope none.
Okay, how many does Israel have?
No idea.
No idea? You were in the government. They don't tell you that stuff.
No idea.
Who do they tell?
No idea.
Do you recognize the hypocrisy of Israel having a secret illicit nuclear weapons program that it won't open up its doors to and won't talk about, and then lecturing everyone else in the region about nuclear weapons?
Absolutely not. You know why?
You talked about hypocrisy. If an Iranian guest came on my show and I asked him about Iran's nuclear program, he said, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about it. Would you be okay with that? You'd be outraged.
Of course,
and
I would
you
be.
sit here as a former
Of course
minister
I
of
would
the
be,
Israeli
because-
government saying, "Oh, I don't know,
Of course
never
would
talked about
be,
nukes with anyone."
because there's like 16 United Nations Security Council resolutions against Iran.
And there is against Israel. And there is against Israel as well.
About
your nuclear
issues?
program.
No.
Yes, there is. UN Resolution 487. Let me read it to you. The UN Security Council in 1981 says, calls upon Israel urgently to place its nuclear facilities under the safeguards of the IAEA. Why haven't you done that?
Because
Iran has never attacked a neighbor. Israel has repeatedly attacked its neighbors. Iran signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel has refused to sign. Iran submits to inspection by the International Nuclear Energy Agency. Israel refuses to submit. Iran has no nuclear weapons. Israel has between 75 and 400 nuclear weapons. So Israel poses an existential threat to Iran. For the last 40 years, Israel has conducted a systematic campaign of disinformation about Iran. Why the lies? Why the double standards? Why the hypocrisy?